It's from friend of the show, Comrade Lamb. The grotesque politics of Ethan Klein. What's crazy about this being Hasan's final straw is that this was like 5 straws ago. Ethan's been far more mask off about his support for the state of Israel since announcing he's taking a trip there.
In which Ethan Klein doesn't deny loving Israel or genocide. Why would I need to? First of all, I do love Israel. But why would I love genocide?
When have you seen?
Why would I need to deny that I'm against genocide? Like, it's just fucking dumb. Can you show me a single bit of evidence that I'm pro-genocide? I'm still waiting. But yes,
you said you supported Yoav Gallant with your wife and that he was a good guy. Yoav Gallant was indicted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes and persecution of Palestinian people. He was the defense minister, the guy directly involved with creating the conditions that now persist in Gaza, that multiple international, I think it's like almost every genocide scholar in the world, almost every single international human rights organization has now claimed is a genocide. What the fuck are you talking about, Ethan? You're going to do a publicity tour for Israel while they're doing a genocide. Like, what are you talking about?
I love Israel. Does that make me a bad person? What's wrong with loving the place that you live, that your family's from, that your wife grew up in?
You don't live there. You don't live there. You live in Beverly Hills.
What do you mean? Loving Israel? What do you mean? What's wrong with loving Israel?
They're doing an apartheid. They have an apartheid walls everywhere. They're stealing land from indigenous people who they deny self-determination to. They're committing mass murder and wars of aggression on multiple neighbors. Like right now, Israel is attacking Damascus, even though the new U.S.-aligned former Al-Qaeda leader has declared neutrality toward Israel. And Israel is attacking Damascus as we speak. What are you talking about? What's wrong with loving Israel, the war criminal state that violates every single aspect of contemporary international law, where they target children intentionally with sniper bullets?
Is that inherently an evil thing? It seems fucking insane. An insane statement. Ethan, quote, not Zionist Klein, talks about how free the apartheid state of Israel feels. Before he calls me a liar, I wish I was lying. Bro, yeah, I said I'm going to Israel. I can't wait to show you guys how I see it. Have you been to Israel? Like, have any of these people actually been to Israel?
It's like a white person saying, I'm going to take you down to Jim Crow South and show you how white it feels. Excuse me, how free it feels for white people. All right, chat. The boogeyman. This is how I know. If I want to say something about Ethan Klein, I will know that he will not clip it if I have Bad Empanada in the background or I'm playing a Bad Empanada clip. I can say whatever the fuck I want about Ethan, and he will never show it because he's scared shitless. Bad Empanada went through over the entire Ethan Klein nuke. The entire Ethan Klein nuke. 4 hours of debunking, and he humiliated. He showed you how pathetic and fraudulent the nuke so-called content puke was.
It's pretty clear by now that you should expect nothing from Ethan Klein, and it's mind-boggling that he continues to claim that he is pro-Palestinian. And it's even more mind-boggling given what he said on another idiotic podcast of his a couple of days ago. So Ethan Klein loves to claim that he is not a Zionist, and also that he's pro-Palestine, in spite of, all the evidence showing that he very much isn't. It's generally not normal for someone who's pro-Palestine to spend literally all of their time just attacking anyone who is pro-Palestine and who opposes literally every single pro-Palestinian action ever, basically. He outright said that he wants to go to Israel and, make content to prove to everyone that there's no apartheid there. It's actually a really nice country. Everything there is great. All in the wake of Israel doing an outright genocide in Gaza. Like, he didn't seem to care about Israel that much before. If anything, he sort of shit on it before October 7th. Like, you know, he'd moved there and he didn't really like it that much. That's obviously why he ended up moving back to the USA. But now he feels like this special connection with Israel. He wants to start selling.
He was a passport, bro. He had to get, you know, Ethan Klein wasn't going to find his, you know, a spouse in America. So, you know, his mom basically told him to, you know, propose to Hila using, you know, and he ended up doing it while on the shitter. I wish this was fake, but Ethan Klein, like, put his engagement ring in wet wipes and, like, went and took a shit and then told Hila to bring him wet wipes in the middle of the shit, and she brought him the wet wipes, and he told her to open the wet wipes and that the ring was in there. Hold on. Oh, excuse me. He called them butt wipes, not wet wipes.
Today,
by the way, this is why he got famous, chat. This is why he got famous. People were laughing at him, you know. Oh, he called them baby wipes, chat.
I was like really into baby wipes. It was like a revolution in my life. And I think to myself, wouldn't it be so funny if I put the ring like in the pack of baby wipes? That'd be surprising, right? And so
Wow.
this sounds worse. This sounds worse than I remember.
I never tell this story anymore. Like, whenever you meet with girls, they all want to hear the fun story of how you were proposed.
Now we're telling everybody.
And I'm like, just forget I'm here. Move on to the next person.
He asked and I said yes.
And it's like, oh, my boyfriend took me to the beach, and then there was horses waiting for us. And we went on a horseback ride, and then there was a table with dinner at the beach waiting for us. And it's all recorded. There's like 5 people recording them.
Yeah, but you're not that kind of girl. I knew that.
I don't care about that stuff.
You didn't want that. I knew that. Yeah, but you're right. Most proposal stories are like, we jumped out of a plane.
Yeah.
Whiskey's made of. Put the ring in the baby wipes, and I went in the bathroom. I didn't actually poop. I pretended to poop.
You pretend to poop now.
Yeah, I was in there. I was pretending to poop, and I said, "Hila, can you bring me the baby wipes?" She's like, "Where is it?" It's in the dresser next to the bed. She's like, "Okay, it's fucking a little strange. So bring me the baby wipes." So she comes in with the baby wipes, and I was expecting her for some reason to see the ring already.
Yeah, or
It fit, like, even in my most simple plan failed. I thought she'd see the ring and be like, oh, he's asking me to marry me in the dumbest way possible.
Just in your mind's eye, imagine this. He's on the toilet with his pants all the way around his ankles. He tells his girlfriend to get baby wipes. She brings it to him, and it just fails. It just fails completely. People think I'm making up stories about Ethan, but I'm not. I mean, this is just... Can I please unimagine this? No, you can't. You have to imagine it.
Telling it to people as like this awesome place. So let me show you another excellent pro-Palestinian action by Ethan Klein.
We're planning to go to Israel in June with my parents and all the kids. It's going to be such a great trip. And I'm actually really excited to go there. I want to show you guys.
you haven't been there in so long.
It's been a long fucking time. What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, because you don't see that. When you listen to Hasan and you hear all these fucking mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist, crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you guys how beautiful, how multicultural, how like free it feels for people, or just it's a beautiful place. It is. It's one of the most diverse places I've ever been.
So that right there is Ethan Klein outright saying that he is going to Israel in order to make like pro-Israel puff piece content to try and sell it to people as like this awesome, beautiful place where everything is actually really nice.
He's just literally going to do propaganda for Israel. Not a Zionist, by the way. Remember when he got mad for people saying that Ethan Klein is a Zionist? Remember that, chat? Remember when he used to yell at us for saying, hey, I think Ethan Klein might be a Zionist? Ethan, I will only take my family on vacation when I think I will own Hasan. Also, the idea of I'm going to bring my family and children to Israel and we need to do a genocide because it's a war zone. It's such a threat. Wait a minute. Are the Palestinians a dangerous terrorist population that's putting every Israeli in fear of their life? Or is it totally fine apartheid state where the rich, powerful Israelis are committing a genocide against the subjected settler, subjective native population? Which is it, Ethan? I don't understand the point. Like, I thought that the violence and uncontrollability of the Palestinian Arabs made it necessary to commit genocide and apartheid against them. It's almost like he's lying about everything. The enemy is both weak and strong. Yeah, weird.
And there's, as he outright said, that there's nothing Jim Crow, there's no segregation, there's no apartheid, there's nothing bad at all, actually. And this is all in the wake of the fucking Gaza genocide. Like, Ethan Klein is so pro-Palestinian that he wants to reward Israel for doing genocide. He doesn't think that you should boycott it. He wants to go there, do tourism, and film videos about how great and awesome Israel is in reaction to that. That's probably the most pro-Palestinian thing I've ever seen in my life. Wow, great job, dude. And just to say something that I've said many times before. Obviously, Israel is fucking great for someone like Ethan Klein, this American who moved there, got automatic citizenship just for an accident of his birth, just because he happens to be Jewish. Obviously, how he sees Israel is going to be great. I mean, he's like a member of the ethnic majority of like the group who this ethno-state, that's what Israel is, like an ethno-state that gives racial privileges to Jews. He's a member of that majority. Obviously, Israel should be great for him. But you know who it's not great for?
Luigi Mangione's lawyers warn supporters their photos are being screened. A note on the FAQ page of Mangione's Legal Defense Fund also asked his supporters to temporarily refrain from sending books. Okay, this is what you need to know. If you're sending nudes to Luigi, the cops are looking at your nudes. Too many books and too many nudes. Average leftist. So just stop, this is a PSA. If you were thinking of sending a cock shot to Luigi, just know that you're really sending it to the prison guards that are probably ogling you and sharing it. So just be careful. Honestly, sending nudes is like a bad idea in the 21st century. It just is at this point. Like, being a real talk. What if I want to make the guards jelly? Well, at least you know what you're doing.
The millions of Palestinians
It's really weird. He used to talk about what a shithole Israel was, talk about the horrible conditions they lived in, but now it's a beautiful place full of yada yada. He definitely never made it seem like it enjoyed there ever. Well, because Ethan Klein is a genocidal Zionist, and that's just an objective description of his politics. He hates the fact that anybody is criticizing what Israel is doing to Palestinians. That's it.
These privileges exist at the cost of. Like, this guy is straight up like a white guy in the American South in 1940 telling you how, I don't understand this stuff about segregation and the racism and stuff. You know, the Southern US is actually pretty fucking great. You guys just aren't seeing it how I'm seeing it. It's really nice here. It's a beautiful country, such nice people. It's so diverse too. Like, look, forget about the black people out of frame. We get migrants here from all over the place. You know, we got Norwegians, we got the Irish, we got the Italians. It's such a great place for me. And if you only listen to those goddamn idiot anti-racist leftists, as they call themselves, you would think it was like this horrible place of apartheid and Jim Crow and segregation. But I want you to see it how I see it. It is the exact same fucking thing. Ethan Klein is like this rich white Jewish guy who voluntarily chose to move to Israel to receive privileges at the cost of Palestinians, to live on land stolen from Palestinians. And now he wants to go back to Israel in the wake of it doing an outright genocide. And he wants to do like public relations puff pieces on its behalf to disprove everyone who tells you that Israel, which just did genocide, by the way, I have to keep reiterating that, to show you that in spite of all the bad things that everyone says about Israel, this genocidal ethno state that exists at the cost of one group of people for the benefit of another group of people, he wants to show you all how great and awesome that country actually is. I can already tell you precisely how this is going to go down. He's going to go there and he's going to try to find like one or two Palestinian citizens of Israel who are willing to like take money, or perhaps like Yosef Haddad or one of those famous propagandist collaborator guys. He's going to go and talk to them and he's going to be like, hey man, let's go around together and prove to everyone how in Israel there's actually no segregation and no apartheid because you, a Palestinian or an Arab, also live here. It's nothing like those fucking lefty crazies say. It's just so predictable. He's gonna like go around and be like looking at the landscape and stuff and say like, wow, this place is so beautiful. Take a look at these beautiful olive trees. Ignore the fact that we burn those.
You know what I want to do, chat? You know what I want to do? I want every one of my LA area people, we need to start showing up. I would love to like just roll into a local socialist organizing meeting with like 50 people or 25 people. I don't want you all to just join on your own though and just kind of like get swept up into whatever internal bullshit is going on. I want us to go in there and just smash whatever the internal dynamics are and just like completely disrupt the dumb infighting and circular firing squad bullshit. I think that would be very fun. What are the chances he pulls out "We made the desert bloom"? I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't already said it. Ethan's going to do the Michael Rappaport bullshit and go to Israel and be like, where's the apartheid? Yes, that's exactly what he's going to do.
The Palestinians. Ultimately, Ethan Klein is not only a dumbass, but an exceptionally callous one. What he's doing here is no different to someone with like German ancestry going to Germany in like 1935 to write like a gushing journalistic article about how awesome Germany is and how you shouldn't listen to what they say about what Germany's doing to the Jews and how it's actually really beautiful and the people there are so nice and things are going so well for them under the new Führer. We need to look at this as precisely what it is. This is someone who wants to do genocide propaganda. It's someone who wants to do colonial propaganda. It's someone who wants to whitewash apartheid, who wants to whitewash oppression, who wants to whitewash this colonial ethno state that exists for the benefit of people like him at the expense of millions of other people. It's so fucking insane too that he claims to be pro-Palestine, and I get comments to this day from absolute morons saying that he's pro-Palestine because he said Netanyahu is bad and he donated $6,000 to a charity once. And then here he is.
Which is less than me, by the way. I gave 10,000. Ethan gave 6,500. Like 6,500 is like not even one sponsorship on one video for him. Like, goddamn, what a cheapskate. Why did he give 6,500 too? That's such a random number. Like, there has to be more to the 6,500 number. Ethan gave $5,000 for a buck-toothed British dude to eat a hot chip. Embarrassing.
Right fucking here being like, I'm going to break the boycott of Israel. I'm going to go do tourism there. Not only that, but I'm going to film like a propaganda piece about how awesome Israel is for me and mine. Never mind the fact that the whole problem that people have with Israel has nothing to do with people saying that it's bad for Jews like me. That Israel is good for you, that is, you find it beautiful and awesome all of a sudden, though. Again, that contradicts what he has said in the past about how much he hated living there. Doesn't say shit about the reason why people hate Israel. The reason why people hate Israel is because millions of people need to be dispossessed, oppressed, and massacred for it to be so great for people like you. I mean, just look at what Ethan Klein actually said when he was living in Israel. And
If there was a donation leaderboard, he regularly donates just enough to be at the top. Oh. Oh. Classic.
just to be clear for the YouTube censors, what I'm about to show you is hate speech, and I denounce it entirely. I'm showing it for documentary purposes, and I completely disavow every single thing that Ethan Klein says in this clip.
And it's the home of the Jew, the Jewy Jew, not just this Jew like, me or Ela, but this is home of the super Jew, the Jew, the dirty, grimy, jacket-wearing Jews.
Jesus.
Real dirty ass, nasty. You know what I mean? It's like, who can look more Jewish? Boom, boom, boom. It's like it doesn't end. I mean, come on.
So does that sound like someone to you who loved Israel and thought it was a beautiful place with lots of beautiful people and no segregation and nothing bad? Or does it sound like someone who looked out the window in Israel and hated everything they saw in the most vile way possible, in fact? Because to me it sounds like the latter. But now Ethan Klein has rediscovered his previously non-existent love for Israel only after Israel has done genocide and presently is attacking the West Bank with tanks. They have ethnically cleansed 3 refugee camps in the West Bank in the last week or so. And Ethan Klein's reaction to the Gaza genocide, to the complete destruction of Gaza, to the ongoing Israeli attacks on the West Bank is to be like, Israel's actually not bad at all. Israel's actually a really good country, and these goddamn crazy lefty fucks who tell you it's apartheid, you know what? I'm going to go there and I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to show you that Israel is actually really awesome. The only thing that changed from Ethan in that clip to Ethan now is that he saw Israel doing out-and-out open genocide, and he liked what he saw, and his opinion on Israel has changed to be more positive now. That really is the only way to interpret this. Now he wants to go and do a propaganda pro-Israel puff piece. What more is there to say about this? Anyone who says this guy is pro-Palestinian, honestly, don't even know what to say to those fucking people. Like, how do you convince someone who just lives in an alternate reality like that? How do you convince...
I think one of the things that I would say about Ethan Klein and his fans in general is they don't care about politics. And most of the people who attack Hasan do not care about politics, okay? They don't care about politics. It's very weird because if you're a person who cares about politics, you are not ready to encounter this type of brain. And this is a strategy that the far right has deployed very well. That's why they hate Hasan so much. There's a reason why they attack Hasan so much and not other left-wingers who are in politics. Do you know why? It's the same reason they attack AOC more than other young progressives. Do you know why? He's cool and hot. But that isn't why they're attacking him. They're attacking Hasan because he is operating in spaces the far right are trying to take over for themselves in a strategy they call metapolitics. Basically, the strategy of the far right, and this is something that people in the AFD and Steve Bannon both talk about quite a bit, is they're trying to get into spaces, what they call the pre-political spaces. A perfect example of that is a Twitch stream, a Twitch gaming space, right? They have that as a pre-political space. And they're trying to create a narrative that DEI is ruining video games. So you're going to an apolitical space, a space that's focused around a hobby, playing video games, and then turning that into a conservative and far-right reactionary political space by showing a problem, addressing a problem, a perceived problem in that community, which is the declining quality of video games, the proliferation of gacha games, the proliferation of loot boxes and unfinished beta releases and all that shit, right? People, there's a problem with video game. The problem is capitalism. So far-right fascists see this apolitical space. They see a problem within it. that can be traced back to capitalism, and they occupy that space with propaganda in order to prime people to become fascist politically. And they call that metapolitics. And it's a metapolitics, the idea of politics is not just what programs you offer people in political campaigns. It's a social and political milieu. And that is what they are doing. And so why they get so mad at Hasan is he operates in those spaces as a left-winger. Hasan is a left-winger who likes anime. Hasan is a left-winger who's playing video games. Hasan is one of the largest streamers on Twitch. So what do far-right people want to do? They've got to go after him because he's contesting the pre-political space. That's why he occupies so much frustration by reactionaries. Same thing with AOC. AOC going to, like, you know, the drag show, or AOC on Instagram, and AOC on, you know, the red carpet and things like that. That is occupying a pre-political space for women, right? There's a lot of women that are going to watch AOC, and instead of being just brain dead Democrats, they might actually have been more attracted to a more radical form of politics. That's why AOC has gotten so much heat. And there's also a psychosexual element for both of them, being, you know, young, attractive, sexually attractive people that people want to fuck. And it's gross to say, but it is reality. They fixate. And this is the reality, is why, you know, they're so important, right? Bernie Sanders, I love him, but he isn't operating in these spaces. He's being brought into these spaces because so many young people see the policies he supported, and they were like, yes, I love this idea. And they brought Bernie Sanders into the pre-political spaces. They politicized so many spaces with pro-Bernie stuff. They did that on their own. That's why it was so effective, because Bernie wasn't doing it. And like, but, you know, Asmongold is operating in part of, you know, he's operating as a foot soldier for Steve Bannon. He's operating as a foot soldier for Chinese gold farmers, right? You hate the bots in World of Warcraft? Asmongold did that. Asmongold is aligning himself with the people that put gold farming bots into World of Warcraft. That's who he's aligned with politically. And he doesn't. And so if you care about video games, you have to despise Asmongold. But it doesn't matter. The thing is, I am an actual gamer. I just don't use it for my content. I don't use it to, like, take advantage of you people.
Someone who believes that post-genocide, it's acceptable to go to Israel and do a, like, pro-Israel puff piece where you deny the existence of Israeli apartheid and tell everyone how awesome Israel is right after it does genocide, while still claiming to be pro-Palestinian. Like, how do you possibly convince someone who believes that this guy is not pro-Palestinian? If it's not this that finally makes them realize that, after all the other stuff that already makes it obvious, then what you've got there isn't a rational human being. It's a fucking pathetic, obsessed fan, or just like someone trying to whitewash Israeli propaganda consciously. There's no rationality involved, and, you know, no point trying to convince those morons. I just find it fucking hilarious that he does this shit and just openly said, I'm doing this because I want to disprove the idea that there's segregation in Israel. I want to show you how beautiful and diverse it actually is. The same sort of thing that, like, a white American settler would happily say in, like, you know, 1850. They try to tell you that, you know, there's this horrible slavery and, like, native genocide here on the western frontier. That's bullshit, though. That's bullshit. There's no apartheid here. Those slavers are down there in the south. They're not here. And let me tell you, we're mighty diverse here. After all, I live on stolen Indian land, and my neighbor, he's from Ireland. My other neighbor, he's from Italy. So how can you say that we're a racist country, given how clearly inclusive we are? It's just ridiculous, man. I'm so pro-Palestinian that I'm going to reward Israel for doing genocide, a genocide which I claim to have been against, by not only breaking BDS by going there and doing tourism in Israel immediately following this genocide, but also by straight up doing pro-Israel propaganda in the course of this. What a ridiculous moron, and the people who follow him can only be ridiculous morons themselves.
I'm Israeli. I know that if Ethan talks to a single Israeli about Gaza or Palestine, he's going to get a reality check. Oh, God. The U.S. forced Ukraine to sign a mineral deal. By the way, chat, this is what... Everybody who said that Ukraine wasn't a puppet of the United States, what is this? This is the value of Donald Trump. The value of Donald Trump is he isn't different than every other president. He's just mask off. And that is the value. Is it because it radicalizes liberals? It radicalizes people who want to tell themselves, like, basically what Donald Trump does is he forces you to expose who you really are. If you're a person who cares about justice, if you're a person who cares about good public policy and humanity, are you a humanitarian? Are you somebody who believes in justice and equality and freedom? Then you're going to be radicalized by Trump to the left. If you are somebody who does that to virtue signal for your own gain, you're going to be radicalized to the right. You can see it right now with Asmongold. You can see that right now with Amaranth. And a lot of other people, they're being radicalized to be mask off. They're coming out and saying, yeah, it's good. It's good to steal the minerals from the Ukrainians. We love that shit. Take advantage of them. Use force. Yeah. Steal the Panama Canal. Invade Greenland. People are clear about who they are. It's not confusing. Right? And that is what he represents. And a lot of people who like comfortably hiding who they really are don't like him because they're forced to reveal themselves. But if we are going to have things come to a head, if we're going to break to a new era of progressivism in a real sense, not just a bullshit virtue signaling sense. Disposition precedes ideology, not for me. Not for me. I think that's why I'm so attracted to a vanguardist, a revolutionary Marxist-Leninism. Because it's the only ideology that lets me square all the circles of who I am. You know, like it's the only ideology that squares all the circles for me. And yet you reject it. Incorrect. You would be wrong. I do not. I'm just actually listening and reading what Lenin wrote and actually understanding it and applying it to the modern day instead of just doing things by rote repetition, but rather by re-deriving it and reapplying it. They were in different conditions, and so they made different actions. Did you see this? Here's a text on the back of Jake Tappers and Alex Thompson's forthcoming book on Joe Biden. What the world saw at Joe Biden's one and only 2024 debate was not an anomaly. It was not a cold. It was not someone who was under or over prepared. It was not someone who was just a little tired. It was the natural result of an 81-year-old man whose capacities had been diminishing for years. Biden, his family, and his team let their self-interest and fear of another Trump term justify an attempt to put on, at times, addled old man in the Oval Office for 4 more years. What was the extent of it? Who knew about it? Was it a conspiracy? We will let the facts speak for themselves. Original sin. President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. Speaking of Ukrainian TV, said the preliminary agreement envisages an investment fund will be set up for Ukraine's reconstruction. He said Ukraine would contribute 50% of future proceeds from state-owned mineral resources, gas, and oil to the fund, and the fund would then invest in projects for Ukraine itself. The U.S. would own the maximum amount of the fund allowed under U.S. law, but not necessarily all of it. On Tuesday, Trump said the U.S. had given Ukraine between $300 billion and $350 billion in aid, and he wanted to get that money back through a deal. He said Ukraine would not sign the deal until Zelensky and Trump agree on security guarantees and decide how to tie this preliminary agreement to a U.S. security guarantee. Trump said on Wednesday that the United States would not provide security guarantees beyond very much. Saying responsibility for this fell to Europe. Kyiv estimates that 5% of the world's critical raw materials are in Ukraine. 19 million tons of proven reserves of graphite, which the Ukrainian Geological Survey State Agency says makes the nation one of the top 5 leading countries for the supply of the mineral. Graphite is used to make batteries for electric vehicles. Also has significant deposits of titanium, lithium, and rare earth metals. Resources worth $350 billion remain in occupied territories today. Amazing. Texas official issues warning after rancher killed by cartel IED in Mexico. A terrorist attack, Sun says. United States to designate cartels as terrorist organizations. That's like interesting because that's going to put a lot of bankers underneath the terrorist supporting legislation. All right, chat. Now is the time to watch some of this response.
Okay, go ahead, King. But coming out and just doing the Hasbro that I've ever seen is unacceptable. Why don't you diminish the 2 kids that died again? Says Elian Aragon. I did not do that, as a matter of fact. I did not do that at all. You are a moron. I think you probably saw me laughing at the scary poster that Hamas had put forth, which showed that Benjamin Netanyahu looked like a villain, like a vampire. Okay? This is pure bad faith nonsense. You are okay? I am not someone who is an ultra Zionist or a Zionist at all. I don't laugh at baby killings. You should take that up with other people, possibly in your social circle, that takes great joy out of the death and destruction of children. The likelihood that the Bibas children were also killed by an airstrike is still fairly high. I do not trust the Israeli government's initial assessment. I'm sorry. Ethan Klein uploaded a video claiming you laughed at them. I know. The funniest thing is, it doesn't even matter if the context is directly in the video. I've realized that a lot of people are so primed into refusing to understand the exact context in the video. Even if he doesn't clip me out of context. Or this is not just Ethan either. This is just everybody that does the same shit. Sometimes they will literally feature the context. Like the famous case of me saying, the likelihood of happening on October 7 does not change the dynamic for me even one bit, is literally me saying you cannot do a genocide on an entire population of people because of the likelihood of sexual assaults happening. Okay? That is the most normal statement of all time. You are a psychopath if you go, no, actually, genocide is valid if sexual assault happened. Is that your argument? Why do you think it's appropriate? Is it appropriate to do genocide to an entire population of people? It's very interesting because seemingly these people are pro-Palestine too. Okay? But at the same time, not only are they pro-Palestine, but they're also simultaneously pro-genocide of Palestinians. Kind of crazy that you got to literally adjust the exact same thing over and over every single day. I know these people are dumbasses who don't care either. AB and Dan pushed back and said you were laughing at the absurdity of the Nosferatu image of Netanyahu, but Ethan still didn't concede his point that you were laughing at the children. Yeah, because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the truth. He doesn't care. He thinks this is good. He thinks this is good propaganda. He can't actively say he loves Israel and he loves everything that Israel is doing because there's too much shame in his heart to openly admit that. Okay? So he has to just do the...
I mean, no, I think he's starting to admit it, right? I think with Ethan Klein, most of the people who care about Palestinian rights have been pushed out of the community already. So I think he's ready. Like, he's absorbed as much of Destiny's viewers as he can. And I think Ethan is now like mentally in the place where he's just going to become a full-blown Israeli apologist Zionist. And you know, Ethan, I just want to let you know that you should go ahead and do that and be open about what you believe. It'll be very cathartic. Sure, you'll be like 25% the size you used to be, but you won't have to spend all this time lying anymore.
The opposite thing and basically say, I'm actually the only real pro-Palestinian person, and every other pro-Palestinian person,
right.
actually, every other pro-Palestinian advocate is actually bad. Okay? They're bad. They're all bad. This is my entire advocacy for the past 16 months of genocide is going to revolve around on every single person that is pro-Palestinian. Yeah. It's also the, 1 year anniversary of Aaron Bushnell self-immolating in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. I wonder what Ethan said about Aaron Bushnell. Because he's so pro-Palestine. I wonder what kind of things he said about that as a pro-Palestine guy. I'm so pro-Palestinian. I'm going to Israel to show everyone how multicultural and wonderful it is. That's how pro-Palestine I am. One of the grossest things I've seen from that community is constantly saying, you're pulling the genocide card. You want to know something really sad about that? Half of the instances where I was like, there's a genocide going on, chatters, I don't think this is relevant, was actually me defending Ethan. That's what's so stupid about it, because for the entire year, I didn't pay attention to what the he was saying about Aaron Bushnell, for example. I had no idea what he was saying because I thought it was unproductive. I kept repeating over and over again, foolishly, mind you, telling my chat not to care or consider what Ethan Klein was saying because there were more important things that were happening, like the genocide that was happening that we were covering. And that's what's really interesting about it. Now, cynically, he just uses all of those instances as he calls it the genocide card.
His Aaron Bushnell joke was when I stopped watching Ethan after 9 years. Well, that's because Ethan Klein is a vicious guy, right? Like, for most people who have an empathetic bone in their body, there's only really two ways to approach Aaron Bushnell. The first is like a kind of profound sense of empathy where you're like, okay, this is a guy who killed himself in one of the most painful ways possible for the purpose of sending a message. I should listen to that message and judge it on its merits and look and see if there's, he has stood up and said something that will be seared into the history books, remembered forever. What would it take for me to do something that brave? And looking at that and going, okay, I respect him when we look into his message and then listen into the message. And the other way is this kind of like nihilistic, sociopathic approach, which I think a lot of people expose themselves, right? Because a lot of people would never die for anyone else. They would never, ever sacrifice for anything else. So when they see somebody doing something that profound, their immediate reaction is mirth. They think it's funny that somebody would give up their life for somebody else or someone else, especially someone that you don't know or something that you don't know, right? They find that to be funny and they enjoy thinking about it because it's not, for them, it's like, wow, somebody would do that? I might be able to manipulate people to do that for me. That's what Ethan Klein is laughing at. He's imagining manipulating people into killing themselves for his own gain. That's the only way he could approach the world. He has no respect or care or empathy, or even there's no solemnity in his body. He can't look at that situation and go, that man sacrificed himself for other people. And that's an incredibly moving thing and incredibly painful to watch. And we should respect that sacrifice and look into it. And when you look into what Aaron Bushnell killed himself over, what he emoliated himself over, it is a profound moral crime that our society is committing. If you look at the words of what he said and how he stood strong, even while on fire. Incredible moment of bravery. I would never advocate that anybody commit self-harm. But what the self-emoliators have done in history is so, and I can't even conceptualize the amount of strength of character and will that took. It is almost unbelievable that we are in the same species. The amount of what that guy did. And I would never, ever, 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 ever tell you. I personally don't think that is a good strategy, because people like Ethan are in control of our society. They just check that off as one more enemy killed. They're killing 20,000 babies. You think one white man killing himself is going to change their mind? They kill babies by the bushel load. They are unmoved. So that is the reality. But Ethan Klein found that to be an object of mockery and mirth. That just tells you where his mind is at as far as like supporting the Palestinian cause.
Well, we're talking directly about the genocide. Maybe make an assessment on all of the instances where you've talked about Israel and Gaza and why you have so heavily focused on all of the people that are critical of Israel. It's so gross that people even say the genocide card. Careful for the next scary IG story incoming. I know. Not even a second where Ethan Klein or his community of otherwise progressive or what remains of his community and what remains of his community that used to be progressive ever think pull the genocide card is a insane thing to say. It is not a card that I'm using to deflect away from serious criticism. It's me quite literally saying, eyes on the prize. There is something more important happening here that you should be focusing on rather than petty ass drama. And for the better part of this past year, that was me telling my community not to focus on whatever Ethan Klein was saying because I thought it was silly and unproductive. I kept repeating over and over again, hey, he posted on Instagram in 2021 about how he was critical of Israel. How foolish was I? Holy shit. Become a hateful, abusive, narcissistic monster over the course of a year. He did not understand that I was trying to defend him when we had those conversations, when I kept telling him like, hey, don't say stuff like this. I know you're pro-Palestine. Don't say stuff like this. People are going to misunderstand you. Turns out I was wrong. Yeah, in the words of Shonda Black, if your N-word compilation is longer than your advocacy for the Palestinian emancipatory movement, then you probably aren't pro-Palestine. Responding to criticisms over his mockery of Aaron Bushnell, Ethan Klein launches into a tirade directly out of the Hasbro playbook before inadvertently betraying his own cynical pandering. Why would you call me a Zionist when I have said all the things you want to hear from me?
That's the problem.
He just doesn't know what Zionism is. Ethan, I'm going to define Zionism from you as in the fairest way I know. Zionism is the belief that there should be a state in the Levant that has a special status for Jewish people that is above all other ethnic and religious groups. And it should do so by dispossessing the native population that already lives there. That is the Zionist belief. The Zionist belief is to form that nation state, a state that is a ethnic supremacist state, an ethno-state, where a specific ethnicity, ethno-religion, is dominant over the others, where it has rights that they do not have. And that is Israel today. Now, this is a fact about Israel. In Israel, if you are an Israeli citizen, you are not permitted to marry a Palestinian and have them be granted residency rights or citizenship within Israel. If you are of Palestinian ethnicity, you are not permitted to convert to Judaism in Israel. These are facts. And these are racially biased facts. This isn't just like, oh, poor Jews were exterminated in the Holocaust, that's why we need to do an apartheid here. It is, oh, you are an Israeli and you want to marry a Palestinian? They don't have the right to come to this country. It is an ethno state. It is an apartheid state, and it does not grant equal status to its non-Israeli Jewish citizens. That is just the fact. And they've passed a nation state law that declared it a country for Jewish Israelis only. The citizenship tiers only go downwards. Gazans can't marry into West Bank citizenship, who can't marry into Jerusalem citizenship, and so on and so forth. Exactly. That's just a fact.
So extreme. My first reaction is this. It was absolutely insane how he stood the whole time. That was crazy. I don't even know how that's humanly possible. Again, not to put this uncouth, but he's a champ at learning a lot. I mean, that sounds bad, but he did it really good. Does that bad sound bad? We have to make levity of things. Does that sound bad that he was really good? I mean that.
You gotta make levity of things. Can you imagine if somebody made a joke about Israelis dying well? Can you imagine if somebody did that? Can you imagine? It's just insane.
As a compliment. What the?
Can you elaborate on why you can't marry here? Israel's Knesset passes law barring Palestinian spouses. Legislators approve law denying naturalization of Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza who are married to Israeli citizens. Israel's parliament passed a law. This was in 2022, before October 7th. Israel's parliament has passed a law denying naturalization to Palestinians from the occupied West Bank or Gaza married to Israeli citizens, forcing thousands of Palestinian families to either immigrate or live apart. The so-called citizenship law passed on Thursday just before the Knesset disbanded for the holiday recess by a 45 to 50 majority vote that crossed coalition opposition lines. It replaced a similar temporary order that first passed during the height of a Palestinian uprising in 2003. It was renewed annually until it expired last July when the Knesset failed to secure a simple majority needed to extend it. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett's Yamina party aligned with the far right-wing factions in the opposition to pass the legislation above the protests of more liberal parties inside and outside government. The combination of forces between the coalition and the opposition led to an important result for the security of the state and its fortification as a Jewish state, said Interior Minister Alet Shahid, a member of Bennett's party. Dozens of lawmakers in the 120-seat chamber did not cast votes on the highly divisive legislation. State of Israel is Jewish. Some Knesset members said it was intended to prevent a gradual right of return for Palestinian refugees driven from their homes or who fled during the 1948 war surrounding Israel's creation, all while Israel prepares to take in thousands of Ukrainian refugees. The state of Israel is Jewish, and so it will remain, said Simcha Rothman of the far-right religious Zionist party, a member of the opposition who brought the law forward with Shahed. Today, God willing, Israel's defensive shield will be significantly strengthened. Baslel Smotrich of the religious Zionist bloc said the law was a correct and good outline.
angry about, you weirdos. What did I do? My God, stop. They just say, all I hear is Ethan, no. But I don't understand what I said. Oh, chewing? Yeah, I'll stop that. Maybe they're just talking about the chewing. Could that be?
Yeah, that's probably it.
Wait, what did I even say that to mean? Like, give me a break. Holy didn't think I do it because you want people to talk about it? Like that's what I'm doing. My point is this. First of all, I was stunned by the way that he stood through the whole thing. I mean, shit, that was wild. And really showed his true resolve to protest in that way. I can only imagine this.
Yeah, this was when there was backlash in his community towards a lot of the things that he was saying. Backlash that was organic, by the way, not backlash that I directed, because at the time when people would send me clips like this, I was like, I'm not going to watch that. I don't care. Okay? Just so you understand. At the time, when members of his community would come in here because, you know, post leftovers, people would be like, look at what Ethan said again. He's a Zionist, I promise. Okay? And I was like, hey guys, there's a genocide happening. I'm going to cover that instead. I don't really care about what Ethan Klein is saying about Israel or Palestine. He is not your enemy. And that's what I said over and over again for a year. Unimaginably charitable. And what did he do after all of that? He came after every single pro-Palestinian voice that was around me, that had ever worked with me in any capacity. And then he came after me too. And how did he come after me? With the most ridiculous clips. With the most ridiculous clips, claiming that I was, scary, hate America, only have America bad perspectives, using some of the silliest sourcing I've ever seen in my entire life. There's a point in which he says, when we were having a back and forth about the Uyghur re-education camps, where he's like, oh, well, aren't they organ harvesting and doing death camps and killing millions of Uyghurs? And I'm like, no, they're re-education camps, which I think is unacceptable, okay? And that those re-education camps have actually closed down, according to an Associated Press article. He turned around and acted like there was no Associated Press article. The Associated Press quietly wrote an article that didn't get a lot of coverage in mainstream media about how, like, okay, well, you know, all the concentration camps have been closed now. Like, all the re-education camps are closed now in Xinjiang, and it's like very different vibes in Xinjiang. And now, you know, it's the tourism hour.
Let's see what the Associated Press actually had to say about this.
Dog, that's your fault. You didn't Google it. And what you did end up Googling didn't even correspond to the evidence that you suggested that the concentration camps, the death camps, were still ongoing. He was using newer articles that were working on information from prior to our conversation. Wonderful stuff. That's what happens when you,
Isn't this marriage thing essentially a form of eugenics? Yes. They want to control the population, racial composition of Israel. That's what they're fighting to control. Can you imagine having laws where they were like, no Mexicans can get citizenship in America, even if they marry Americans, because we want to make sure it's a white majority country. That's what they're doing in Israel. And that was passed by the so-called left-wing party.
6 months on ChatGPT trying to craft a compelling narrative about things that you don't understand. I heard some of the things that he said in his video, like how 1 million Israelis were displaced during the Nakba, which he calls the War of Israeli Independence, by the way. Okay. Not 1 million Israelis, sorry. 1 million Jews were displaced forcibly. More Jews were displaced during the Nakba than Palestinians, he said.
The irony of this whole situation is that after the 1948 war, when Israel won the war to declare its independence, the Arab countries got super anti-Semitic against their own Jewish citizenry that had nothing to do with Israel. And as a result, they kicked them all out, 1 million plus of them, and forced them to go the one place they hated the most, Israel. And now those same people that forced them out of their homes are telling them they don't belong there. In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. 1 million Jews.
That is the highest level of being misinformed. At that point, I don't even know if you're a Zionist or just a moron. Okay? That's what he said. And his dumbass audience of progressive individuals ate that shit up. That's what I'm frustrated by. That's what I'm insanely frustrated by. Because Ethan Klein, for better or for worse, did cultivate a relatively progressive community. And now he's just a Hasbara bot farming that community into a more reactionary position on a genocide for an apartheid state. An apartheid state that he lived in and hated when he lived there. It's crazy. Like the level of historical revisionism in his anti-Hasan video is so insane. And people still unironically repeat that. Liberal-minded people repeat that. That is what frustrates me. People who are otherwise progressive turning around and being like, oh my God, if everything Ethan is saying in this video is true, and he says he's pro-Palestinian, then yeah, maybe there is definitely a lot of lying and obfuscation happening on Hasan's side. Insane. Literally has the Hamas Piker meme in the background of his entirety of his new video. Yeah, of course, that kind of it flies. Like no one will ever bat an eye at that. Okay, no one will ever bat an eye at that, dude. But God forbid you say Sabra hummus is dog. Oh my God, it's the peak of anti-Semitism. I stubbed my toe. This must be Hasan's anti-Semitism. People don't want to collaborate with me no more. Not because I've had an extended crash out in public in the funniest and saddest ways possible that everyone can see, but most people are still too afraid to ever openly disparage because you sick your fan base on everyone, no matter how big or small, including anonymous Redditors who are former fans of yours, trying to engage in frivolous lawsuits to just expressly dox people. Not because you think you're going to win these defamation suits, but specifically because you want to dox them and then openly talking about how you're going to tell every random person's immediate family members and places of employment that they're actually anti-Semitic for the crime of criticizing you.
There was more Jews.
What is this? Disinformation tracker, content nuke, part 2, Ethan lied for Israel.
The 1940s.
Ever broke just a...
He claimed yesterday that you crashed out and you needed intervention and that you live a sadly lonely life just streaming. Yeah. If I'm crashing out because I responded to one goddamn tweet, if I tweeted twice, okay, because I saw something that I consider to be a bridge too far, which is obviously this tweet. If this tweet is crashing out, what the fuck is doing Instagram posts every single day and 8 or 10 videos virtually covering me every single podcast? What is that? We need a new term for that. If one tweet...
Honestly, chat, I gotta say this. Like, Ethan Klein has so little motion. Like, I honestly don't even know when he makes an Instagram video about me or whatever. It just doesn't affect me at all. I'm out there like doing my normal shit, you know? Going about my life, going out in public, tweeting regular politics shit, making my streams every day, hanging out with my community, and there's no motion. It's like, damn. He's attacking me? I don't even notice.
After months and months of endless chirping.
But apparently he notices when I talk about him. It's like, apparently I have more motion than he does. Because he's, you know, he's pulling up clips of mine and talking about me on his show. And it's just like, damn. Enemy of the show now. I'm an enemy of the show.
A crash out. What the f is this? Yeah, look at this crash out where I said, no way, the guy who ended his podcast over disagreements on Israel's genocide, who spent the last year trying to get every pro-Palestinian voice band is visiting Israel like Michael Rappaport. He's going to show us all that there's no apartheid. He even mentions me in this. He can't seem to get my name out of his goddamn mouth.
We're planning to go to Israel in June with my parents and all the kids. It's going to be such a great trip. And I'm actually really excited to go there. I want to show you guys.
You haven't been there in so long.
It's been a long time. What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, because you don't see that. When you listen to Hasan and you hear all these mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist.
Yeah, dude, it's so crazy that these mega lefties like Hasan are calling Israel an apartheid state. I wonder what other mega leftists have called Israel an apartheid state. Oh, that's right. Nelson Mandela, dude. I don't know. I feel like he knows a thing or two about apartheid, don't you think? Mega leftist, dude. Nelson Mandela in Palestine, in his own words, on the 30th anniversary since his release from prison, the late South African leader remains an icon for the Palestinians. This was all the way back in 2020, this 30-year anniversary. I don't care about all the petty shit, okay? I don't care about all the petty shit. I do, however, care about, especially when we have a fascist administration with numerous tossing Sig Heils left and right as the administrative state is being blown to bits by billionaire parasites. I do care about one of the last remaining progressive communities turning into a reactionary hole because they're following the whims of a narcissistic madman who can't let go of his love and loyalty to this apartheid state, this settler colonial apartheid state currently conducting a genocide. That is a bridge too far. He openly stated that the PLO, he openly stated his support for the Palestinian Liberation Organization during a town hall meeting in the U.S. broadcast on the ABC channel. At the time, it was still regarded as a terrorist organization by U.S. and Israel. Okay? If you
know who else was still considered a terrorist at the time? Nelson Mandela.
An effort post video that does a historical dissection of the Hasbara slop, someone like Zach Foster, it would go so hard. Yeah, we identify with the PLO because just like ourselves, they are fighting for the right of...
This is the thing with Ethan. Ethan, is there any argument? Is there any way you could ever change your mind? And I feel like you know, and I know that the answer is no. If you can look out and see the genocidal apartheid that's being enacted in your name as an Israeli citizen today, and your main reaction to that is, I want to attack the people that say it's wrong. At a certain point, you and I both agree that you are just a committed Zionist apartheid supporter. And there's no argument that's going to make you change your mind, ever.
Self-determination. Arafat is a comrade in arms, and we treat him as such. In a 1977 speech on International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, Mandela reaffirmed his support for Palestinian rights. We know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of Palestinians. In the West Bank, occupied Palestinian land.
Mission with them to like a terrorist city.
Yeah.
That was kind of a crazy story.
Yeah, my officers and like the soldiers in that brigade, they would go every night on a raid,
right,
in Armada to arrest terrorists, and so I always saw them preparing for it and leaving, and then I would stay in the base. So one time I wanted to go with them just to experience it.
Why? You just were all of a sudden had an urge to go with them?
I just wanted to see what it's like.
Right.
I wanted to see it.
The same city that Ethan and Gila called a terrorist city, the city of Ramallah, okay? There is a Nelson Mandela statue. How ridiculous. I'm ashamed that there are so many people that straight up just dropped all of this stuff the moment that Ethan decided every single person that is a defender of Palestinian emancipation is bad and a terrorist. It's shocking. It's shocking how that turn happen? Like, what happened to individual thinkers? What happened to progressive-minded people? He just purged them from his community. And then in the process, those who remained, I guess, were just rabid sycophants.
It's like crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember, he's talking about Israel. The mega leftists like Hasan are saying that Israel's a Jim Crow style society.
Like it's some super racist, like crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you guys.
Please look at the insane post of the H3 subreddit. Okay, hold on. Google has buried this article. It looks like if you search her name in the news, is one of the captives was held in Gaza. We were held in... Yeah, I know. I saw that. Ethan Klein's attack on Faux Moy. Why YouTubers threatening legal action against this celebrity culture subreddit, and how it may affect your favorite Reddit pages. They're saying Slate is a mainstream outlet linked to Hasan. It's the most normie liberal news. It's like the most normie liberal fucking news site out there. Oh, that's so funny. This publication literally just wrote a puff piece about Hasan that Ethan took down. It wasn't a puff piece. It was a very balanced, full explanation of all the scandals that Hasan has been in. What are you even talking about? You don't know what puff piece means. You fucking dumbass. And here they are with another piece by Candace Lim and Kate Lindsay discussing Ethan's pushback against dark subs. They mentioned the usual crashing out, broke up over a minor disagreement. They gloss over the real complaint of Ethan, the anti-Semitism, also minimizing Gila's. Okay. Also minimizing Gila's struggle as an artist. As an artist? You mean plagiarizing other people's art? And then they present a both sides argument saying each fan base are just passionate. One fan base is being viciously attacked and one fan base is supporting terrorist propaganda. How is that equal? Notice they both openly declare they're Trisha fans. Supporting terrorist propaganda. I know Ethan Klein is supporting the Palestinian genocide. That is pretty terroristic. God damn, dude. This is sad. 37 upvotes. Are Destiny's fans getting bored of Ethan? Oh, wow. Wow, chat. Vio brought me food. She brought me a lot of food. This is too much. This is like something you put in front of like multiple people, Vio. I'll never eat this all.
Say thank you right now.
Thank you, Vio. Unasked for, chat. This is not... Now, unlike Ethan Klein, I don't have a live-in maid and housekeeper that I pay less than minimum wage and then who ends up suing me for, wrongful termination because I got sick. No Sabra hummus. No hummus at all, chat. We've got mango. We've got, like, some salami. There's some various cheeses. I see some cheddar. I see some Swiss Havarti, I think it is. And some grapes. Wow. Thank you, Vio. H3 is like, man, this sub is dying, dude.
It's feeling like anytime there's like a creator group, there's always something gonna go wrong with that group.
Don't join a creator group ever.
Yeah.
I guess the vlog squad is relatively
I think one of the craziest things about this is that if Ethan had like charitably listened to what I was trying to explain to him.
Hasan Abi, Hasan on Lolcow Live. Dark green socks. This must be a foot. This must be a foot soldier.
How beautiful, how multicultural, how like free it feels for people, or just it's a beautiful place. It is. It's one of the most diverse places I've ever been. We're planning to go to
So diverse. It's so multicultural and so diverse. Anyway, if you want to understand why it's ridiculous, obviously this in and of itself is frustrating to hear, okay? It's frustrating to hear what? In response to you saying the Hamas wouldn't kill hostages because they're literally their bargaining chips, he went on to say that they killed the kids because, quote, they didn't want to take care of them. Yeah, I know. It's because yes, because everything the Palestinians do are bad. Everything that Israel does, even if it's bad, it was actually in the direction of good, a higher good, okay? Hey, Hasan, I was just wondering if you're anti-BDS because apparently it's anti-Semitic, or anti-blockade, despite saying Nelson Mandela and the ANC blocking commerce was base, anti-JF Jewish Voice for Peace, calling them a slur, anti-creators for Palestine because they're not real activism, and also wants to show how non-Jim Crow like Israel is the whitewash the apartheid. Can you still be pro-Palestinian? Asking for a friend. They donated $6,500 one time. Yeah, $6,500 to the fundraiser that I was doing, by the way. You know, the main terrorist guy. So ridiculous. It's so gross to use this ongoing conflict, no matter which side you're on, this ongoing conflict, as a way to drive a wedge, as a way to just be like, this is my own personal petty project. It's always pure projection. When he says you're using the genocide card, it's like, no, man, you're using an ongoing genocide to go after people who are critical of the genocide, because you can't cope with the reality that numerous people from the progressive community that you cultivated obviously had disagreements with the way that you were covering this. Yeah. Meanwhile, the leftover episodes are still up on their channel while trying to get you banned from Twitch. I know. Dangerous, scary, radical terrorism that he put up on his channel and still maintains on his channel while actively trying to get me banned, claiming that the platform he's on is, of course, not anti-Semitic, or the people that he hangs out with who literally voted for Donald Trump, they are all perfect little angels. But you know who's actually at fault? A person that I'm falsely claiming told his audience not to vote for Kamala Harris. Okay? Oh, I
told his audience not to vote for Kamala Harris. I told his audience not to vote for Kamala Harris. Hasan voted for Kamala Harris. I'm the one who said don't vote for Kamala Harris. It was me. I was the one who defeated Kamala. I'm the one who's more influential than Hasan. Hasan told his audience to vote for Kamala Harris. They said, no, Mike was right. It was me. I defeated her.
can't find any clips of Hasan saying don't vote for Kamala Harris. Well, I'll just lie about it anyway because my audience will eat it up. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I saw him desperately trying to find a clip of me not voting or urging people not to vote in spite of.
This is what it looks like whenever you visit Ethan Klein's house. This is what he makes all his servants do.
I bet you didn't know that servants had to give room when a member of the family came into the house. It means you turn and face the wall. Apparently, if you can't see my face, I'm invisible. And then if you did want me for something, maybe a cup of coffee or brandy, even the name's Andrew, you're very likely to call me James or Henry. Good servant names, much easier to remember.
That's what Dan looks like. Whenever Ethan comes into the room, Dan has to do that.
The reality that I've spent countless hours telling people to go out and vote, and literally voted on stream, by the way. Voted on stream. Yeah, Hasan is a big reason why Donald Trump won. Meanwhile, he had Steiny visit in person last week. A person who Donald Trump literally mentioned by name. I'm not even against communicating with people who voted for Trump. Obviously, I talk to Bradley Martin all the time. Okay? It's important to understand why people vote for Trump. It's also important to dismantle the arguments, you know? I don't know if he's doing that. What is this? What is this?
This is a result of Hasan's activism.
Did you not get the memo? We're way past that, Hasan. We hate you.
Yeah.
It actively didn't help make sure we don't get Trump in office, so.
I want to thank the Nelt Boys, the Nelt Boys, the Nelt Boys, the Nelt Boys.
Your favorite toy is here. Can we bring out our special guest?
It's my best bud.
It's Tiny!
Finally in the...
Wow.
Thank you guys for inviting
What a big old hug.
I hope he's happy with, like, Trump-Lindia that we're gonna get there.
I don't think he's full-blown right-wing, but he is certainly not pro-Palestine, okay? Just saying. He says you shouldn't talk about Nelson Mandela being on the terrorist watch list because Mandela was anti-violence. I know, I heard that. It's ridiculous.
Nelson
again,
Mandela was not Martin Luther King Jr., who, by the way, was also shot and killed. I think Ethan doesn't know the difference between Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. I literally don't think he knows the difference. I think he just thinks black civil rights guy. And he thinks they're all exactly the same.
He does not know. He does not understand. He doesn't know anything. That is the problem. But plenty of people also don't know anything. So when you have a major platform like this, okay, perhaps it would be best for you to at least do a little bit of cursory research before flying off the handles, making insane claims. There's a difference between asking people not to vote and choosing not to publicly endorse Kamala Harris out of good conscience in her Gaza policy. I've been watching you since 2019, and you consistently said to vote, even Democrat down the ballot for statewide and local races. Yeah. But it doesn't matter because his audience has not seen that, because his audience doesn't care. His audience doesn't know the truth.
His audience is not a political audience. He's doing the destiny route. I've tried to explain this multiple times, but I'm going to keep explaining it. The destiny route is you create a cult-like following and you use politics to get attention on the algorithm. But none of your followers actually give a shit about politics. They just use politics as a way of hooking into the algorithm and getting famous people to talk to. That's it. You don't actually believe in anything and you have no political goals. It's about building a little cult and having them follow you around and say what you say. They don't actually have their own analysis or their own views, because that gets in the way of the cult leader's desires, which is to have more political power. It's a fundamentally fascist way of approaching politics, of personal loyalty and extreme pragmatism.
Truth, and many in his audience don't seem to care about the truth. They're so washed away in the petty grievances that this man has. That's what's so sad about it. It's like we don't have a lot of progressive spaces, okay? There aren't that many outwardly progressive content creators out there, outwardly progressive commentators out there, okay? So it's sad to see a relatively large audience of somewhat progressive individuals turning around and just taking the most reactionary position on Israel because their favorite content creator has been crying victim for a year now. But now he's stuck because he farmed all of the anti-Hasan people. And the moment that he stops talking about me, they're not going to give a about his goofs and gaffes. He already eradicated his audience that cared about the goofs and gaffes by fatiguing them with endless amounts of Hasan content. Sure, maybe a decent 30% of your base actually also came on board with the Hasan content, and they think I'm a vile human being because your subreddit is big.
The A3 subreddit has 30 plus posts dedicated to Hasan. And I'm sure there's like 5 or 10 about me as well. Which is really just Hasan once removed.
basically turned into the Hasan snark page now. It's Destiny 2, okay? But the moment that you move on to a different target, they're going to go away. I don't know if he'll stop talking about you. I don't think he will, but it's okay. He's just going to keep lying over and over again in more insane ways. It is what it is. It's also extra funny that not only do they actively brigade shit, but then they also, he literally, they forced a journalist to go private after writing an article about me because Ethan Klein posted on his Instagram story like a goddamn coward again, okay, crying about a positive article that came out about me on Slate. Ridiculous. I know he worked with Dan Saltman, Sex Pestini's doxing brigadier general for his nuke, and that's why it was dog and it flopped. Have fun suing Reddit mods, dude. I'm sure that'll make people
Suing Reddit mods is what you do right after you win.
People like you. He got the views though. Come on, dog. His Keemstar nuke was like 6 million. He
Israel
literally
has agreed to
activated
release 620 Palestinian hostages from Israeli torture camps. The remains of 4 Israelis will be turned over in exchange for the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners which have been delayed. Hamas has been releasing hostages and performative ceremonies aimed at showing that it's still in control of Gaza. Yeah, they keep giving gift bags and like certificates to the hostages. Like, that's crazy.
his inactive channel to try and, you know, farm more people to the cause. All he did was remind people that they were subscribed to his old channel and then subsequently unsubscribe. Cried about me not watching his content, puke. I still, after all is said and done, I still wish Ethan well. I want him to get better because I think that there is still a kind individual deep down inside. Okay? But I think that
there isn't. This is the main disagreement with Hasan and me. I do not wish Ethan well. I want Ethan to suffer exactly what he imagines the Palestinians deserve. That's what I want for you, Ethan. I want you to live the life that you want to condemn others to live. I want you to be given cosmic justice. And if you wish the Palestinians well, then I wish you well.
this past year has completely bricked his brain. He literally thinks like people calling him a Zionist is the most anti-Semitic thing he's ever heard when, you know, he's just defending Israel over and over again. Not directly defending Israel and saying like Israel's the greatest nation on the planet, even though he did do that when he said he was going to go to Israel. Okay. But defending Israel nonetheless by attacking every vocal advocate of Palestinians and calling them all terrorists. Like, sure, he's not doing I hope your beeper goes off memes in public. Okay. But that doesn't change the reality that he has actively worked to deplatform every pro-Palestinian content creator. Like, how the can you say you're pro-Palestinian? What he said to Muhammad on Twitter wasn't that far off from a Bieber meme, to be fair. I mean, yeah, have fun in Gaza, where they'll throw your gay ass off the roofs. I think that was one of the last things he tweeted before he was like, oh no, I can't take it. I should leave Twitter. And then lo and behold, what does he do? He just goes around posting Instagram stories because you can't see the replies on Instagram stories, you know? You're saying you were in the Turkish military? Yeah. Did you see that your tweet about that weird gamer guy? All the groypers are under that now. Oh, this one?
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Oh God, I forgot to mention this. Oh, this is so important. Hold on. I would say that the number one source of guys that are defending Ethan are literally groypers. They're literally fascist groypers. I thought it was weird for a while. I was like, somebody would reply to me and go like, Mike, you're fat. And I'd be like, okay, what is this guy? So I'd like look at their account and it's like following, you know, Nick Fuentes and, you know, various like groyper orbiters. And I would be like, huh? It's like, this isn't even an Ethan Klein fan. This isn't even a Destiny fan. This is just a straight up like Nazi. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? So I would say like most of the motion, most of the pushback I'm seeing nowadays is literally just Nazis. It's kind of weird that they're on the same side as Ethan Klein. I don't know why that is. It's fucking weird. Today I learned what a groyper is. A groyper is a member of an online group of very far right kids, basically, surrounding a specific content creator named Nick Fuentes, and they use these like very cursed Pepe memes, which they call the groyper. That's all it is. They use him as a useful idiot. Yeah, it's actually pretty fascinating how fascists are very comfortable doing that. And I will give the groypers credit on one point. They know who the real threat is, right? Like, every groyper understands that, you know, Nancy Pelosi and Ethan Klein and Destiny are not in opposition to their plans, right? They understand that the real threat to them is Bernie Sanders and Hasan, and to a much lesser extent, people like me, right? They get it. They understand politically that what everyone else already understands. Liberals are implicit allies of fascism.
The one who was like, you targeted gamers. Gamers. Grums. I said, I can't believe there's a real tweet from a man who's about to be 60 years old. People used to feel shame. This motherfucker really did the I studied the blade unironically. The Quartering posted this. Yeah, I look hot as dog. What are you talking about? You will never be able to look like that. Imagine looking like the Quarter Pounder and then posting this as though this is a own. I'm going to quote retweet it. Remember those goofs and gaffs? Speaking of goofs and gaffs, that's the type of people Ethan used to clown on. Doesn't that even remotely help you realize how shitty of a situation you're in? Like, maybe you're not on the right side of this argument when you got Keemstar and every drama YouTuber on your side that does slop content. Perhaps that should include him in on where he was at on this issue.
Well, that's because they're fascists and they understand. Again, everybody understands. Remember what I said earlier about metapolitics? You know, remember what I said about metapolitics? Ethan Klein is not going to be contesting the right wingers in the areas of political spaces. Hasan is. And in fact, Hasan is one of the only people doing it, which is why he's such a big threat.
Or maybe his audience. But of course, what's your calculation on talking about it versus not giving it any attention? My calculation is, if it's like random petty who gives a... But if I actively see you doing pro-Israel propaganda under the guise of being pro-Palestinian to your relatively progressive audience, then yeah, I think that's a bridge too far. That was the exact same reason as to why I talked about Destiny as well after years and years of Destiny coming after me. Not because I was afraid of covering Destiny, but because I didn't give a shit. Who cares? Ironically, at the time, I didn't think Ethan was a hardcore Zionist. A famous clip of me telling directly to his face, there's only so much I can do about moderation when you're coming across like you're defending Israel, is from an argument where he called JVP Live capos. Nice try playing the genocide card, scumbag. You can't hide behind your advocacy. You're hiding behind Instagram stories. You can't even talk to me in person. I'll go on your stream. I guess what is frustrating with Ethan is that he has reached out to people who know their stuff on Palestine, like Ilan Pape. At least you've had people who know more about this volatile issue on stream. That's what I mean. Ethan Klein is afraid of anti-Zionist Jews, okay? He's afraid of anti-Zionists in general, but he is certainly afraid of anti-Zionist Jews, because if he talks to an anti-Zionist Jew, okay, they're going to be like, yeah, dog, you're f***ing insane. And he's going to freak the fuck out. That's why, if you noticed, half the clips that he uses are literally clips where I'm sitting next to Alex, lol overruled. Noah Colwyn or Felix Biederman. Why does he never talk about Felix Biederman or Noah Colwyn? Because he can't call them anti-Semites, okay? He hasn't reached that stage of Zionism yet. It's much harder to present someone who is an anti-Zionist Jew as an anti-Semite to your audience of not super well-informed, but relatively progressive individuals. He hasn't watched Bad Hosbury yet? Yeah. No talking to Matt Lieb. What's up with that? He calls them tokens. Yeah, I wonder how that would go if he did that directly to the faces of people. He said I was tokenizing Sam. Yeah. I know for a fact that other content creators also see all this. They don't say anything because they don't want to draw the ire of his rabid fan base who will go after and harass people endlessly. Classic. Hold on. I got to take Kaya out.
A few of the racist lies Ethan tells in defense of Israel's apartheid regime and their
I don't know what this video is, but hold on. I'm gonna be back in a second. I gotta take Kaya out.
Think that Jews as an ethnic minority in Israel would not be safe?
Jews are the ethnic majority in the UN-recognized territory of Israel. They've been the majority ever since Zionist forces captured 80% of his...
Yes, that's a racist belief. Yes, that's a racist belief. Just like it was a racist belief to believe that white people would be safe in the South if we ended Jim Crow. That is a racist, nonsensical belief.
Historic Palestine between 47 and 49. In that time, Zionist forces ethnically cleansed 80% of the indigenous population of Palestine, and ever since, Jews have lived as a privileged class in an apartheid state.
After all, Israel is a country of refugees. If the Jews didn't come from Europe after the Holocaust, they came from the surrounding Arab countries.
Jewish settlement and colonization of Palestine.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about when he said 1 million Jews were forcibly expelled from surrounding Arab nations. Like, how ridiculous to make that comparison to the Nakba while simultaneously undermining the crime of ethnic displacement of over 750,000 Palestinians. Ridiculous. Pro-Palestine my ass. Once again, I ask everyone, is Ethan Klein stupid and not knowledgeable about the history of this country that he's defending? Or is he in bad faith doing propaganda? Historical revisionism. The expulsions that were planned according to Israeli, well, I believe he's no longer an Israeli citizen, but...
Vio says, but I poisoned it. She's still tempted. Yeah, the cheese is safe. The crackers were safe.
Israeli scholar Ilan Pape were planned, okay? They were planned. The expulsions were planned, okay? They did a lot of violence in villages that had cooperative agreements with surrounding Israeli villages, specifically so that it would be easier to forcibly expel the other Palestinian villagers in other villages and also large cities. This was all a plan before the inception of the Israeli nation state. This is a fact that even people who are now pro-Israel, like historian Benny Morris, agrees to. This is an established fact amongst the new historians in Israel. Okay? The difference between someone like Benny Morris, however, and someone like Ilan Pape or Avi Shleim is that Benny Morris establishes that fact and says now that it was good that it happened. It had to happen. Okay? There is a major difference between that and working on Avi Shleim, another Iraqi-Israeli historian, Avi Shleim, and his work on the matter of what happened to the Jews in Iraq specifically, where the Israeli government literally blew up synagogues in an effort to create pressure amongst the Iraqi Jewish population. Many of these Arab nations did not want the Jewish populations to leave. Okay? They either cut separate agreements with outside pressure if they were, under the protectorate of France, for example, or cut deals specifically with the state of Israel. And on top of that, there was still a lot of violence that Israeli citizens, or not Israeli citizens, Jews experienced in these countries due to pan-Arabic nationalism at the time, and also due to the violence that the early Zionist brigades enacted upon the Palestinian villagers. Okay? The notion that this is in any way, shape, or form comparable to the planned expulsion of 750,000 Palestinians from
Isn't
their
this
ancestral
insane?
homelands is ridiculous. It is akin to genocide denial. I mean, maybe Ethan doesn't know that, to be fair. To be fair to him, maybe Ethan does not know that. Okay? But he should not be so confident in saying something so ridiculous, such as the expulsion of Jews from Arab countries, from surrounding Arab countries, was worse than the Nakba. Incredible levels of stupidity.
Palestine began in the 1800s.
By the way, there was a big strategy to offer right of return for all Israelis in those former Arab states in return for a right of return for Palestinians. And guess what? Israel rejected that deal. Because they don't care. They just use it as a talking point. It's not a real point they believe in or care about.
Hundreds, well before World War II, and the refugees to which Ethan refers actively participated in massacring and ethnically cleansing the indigenous population of Palestine. The point Ethan is making is akin to claiming that the white Afrikaners of South Africa, or pilgrims in America, who arrived as poor people with nowhere else to go, should be seen as victims despite their colonization of the land and extermination of the indigenous population.
Can you please elaborate on how Nakba is worse than the expulsions from Middle Eastern countries? My Jewish best friend does the exact same argument. I already did. One is a planned expulsion through terror of ethnic Palestinians from their ancestral homelands that Israel wanted to develop a nation state on top of. The other is literally goaded by the Israeli state because it benefits their settler colonial agenda. Okay? And yes, there were expulsions on top of that, or not expulsions necessarily, but there were crimes, hate crimes against Jews that took place too, of course, born out of the violence that all of these other Arab nations had seen the early Zionist brigades bring on top of the Palestinian population. But the notion that this was like an instantaneous response and that there was mass purges that took place all around the Levant is ridiculous. It was not planned and prepared. And in many instances, Israel itself, because it suited their purpose of settler colonialism, actually urged these governments to expel the Jewish populations. The governments themselves did not want to expel their Jewish populations. Here is Iraqi British-Israeli historian Avi Shalem, one of the new historians from Israel, explaining this. Okay, he wrote an entire book on the subject matter. If Ethan, being someone who is pro-Palestinian and having this massive audience, wanted to actually educate himself on the history of the ridiculous apartheid state that he's trying to defend, poorly, mind you, he could just as easily search this information. So the question remains, why won't he search this information? Why does he go on the attack, especially against others who he knows are not anti-Semitic, people like myself, okay? While there is a sea of anti-Semitism out there, why does he single out someone who has actively combated anti-Semitism over and over again?
Jews were convinced that Israel had a hand in uprooting them. After the 1948 war, there was mounting popular hostility towards the Jews in Iraq. 5 bombs exploded in Jewish sites. The series of bombs created a panic which led more and more Jews to register to leave the country. I met an elderly friend of my mother's, an Iraqi Jew called Yaakov Karkukli, who had been in the Zionist underground. One member of his group, Yosef Basri, a very, very intelligent Jewish lawyer, and his assistant Shalom Saleh Shalom were responsible for 3 out of the 5 bombs. Basri's controller was an Israeli intelligence officer named Max Binet, who was based in Tehran.
The Arab expulsions were beneficial for the Israeli state's settler colonial project. Okay? Each individual country has a different history and a different association. But the claim that this was widespread...
The propaganda is so good I didn't know.
To claim that this was widespread anti-Semitism after Jews had lived in these countries under the protectorate of the Ottoman Empire for centuries is ridiculous. Okay? Because under the Ottoman Empire...
The Arabs just were like, you know, we've lived with Jews for thousands of years, but now that the Nazi Germany has been defeated, we just decided we hate Jews. Like, it's just nonsense.
Had the same rights that Christians did. It was seen as a safe haven for Jews. That's why there are so many Jewish people that historically lived in these Arab nation states. Okay?
Well,
the idea that like there was mass expulsions or mass pogroms occurring in the Levant is ahistorical. Okay? And if you were to turn around and say, oh, well, they had to pay a tax, jizya, okay? Christians did too. Most of the problems against Jewish people under the Ottoman protectorate actually came from Christians regardless. It is ahistorical and ridiculous. This is Ottoman propaganda. These people treated us as second-class citizens in our own country. Okay. First of all, once again, chatter, it's not Ottoman propaganda. It's historical Jewish propaganda then, okay? Because the Ottoman Empire was broadly seen as a safe haven for Jews because Jews were victims of pogroms in the Christian Western European nations, in Europe in general. That is just the truth. And in terms of being considered a second-class citizen, okay, it is the exact same for non-Muslims across the board. I'm not saying this was the most woke, but in comparison to the Inquisition, yeah, it was infinitely better. The notion that there was unimaginable anti-Semitism happening in comparison to the Inquisition is ahistorical. Okay? Coexistence with Jews wasn't because of the Ottoman rule. It was under the Arab Caliphate too. Yes. Muslims also paid a tax. They paid a different tax. History of Jews in the Ottoman Empire. The existence of Jews in the Ottoman Empire is particularly significant because the region provided a principal place of refuge for Jews driven out of Western Europe by massacres and persecution. This isn't a defense of the shit that the Ottoman Empire did. Of course, they're an empire, all right? But in comparison to, it was on the Jewish Chronicle too. What did the Ottoman Empire ever do for us? Quite a lot, in fact. Contrary to the prevailing view, the Turkish civilization had an egalitarian, multicultural outlook which protected Jews. Anyway, before people say, oh, you only read the headlines, I've read this entire article on stream before, okay? Regardless, the only reason why I brought this up is because a lot of people falsely say that there is like a historic ancient anti-Semitism among the Arab nations, okay? This is not correct. This is completely incorrect. It's a relatively new phenomena that the Western world has very openly passed the torch on after their historic anti-Semitism and their pogroms and the Holocaust. Now they, even in Germany, claim that the woke Muslim radicals are actually bringing anti-Semitism to Germany.
Okay, I'm fucking malding, chat. This is what I've been malding over. Am I on the other monitor? Sabi says, what is Mike from Temu doing being this racist? You gotta be shitting me right now. You gotta be shitting me right now. I don't have dimples like this, okay? I'm not wearing my little sister's headband, okay? And I'm certainly not wearing, as I said before, the Ghostbusters secretary's glasses on stream. Like, come on! And Temu makes quality products.
Ridiculous.
In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. 1 million Jews.
There is zero
Yeah, I could not believe this is what I meant. This is like insane.
factual basis to this statement. The Nakba is the ethnic cleansing of Palestine, which took place between 47 to 49. There was no mass displacement of Jews during the Nakba, approaching anything close to 1 million Jews. Jewish emigration from Muslim countries occurred over the course of decades, and Middle Eastern Jews were not expelled by their respective governments or through military force.
The Arab countries got super anti-Semitic against their own Jewish citizenry that had nothing to do with Israel. And as a result, they kicked them
That
out.
had nothing to do with Israel. Like, what are you talking about? People voluntarily left to go to Israel. Like, what do you mean? It's not the entire story, but Jesus Christ.
Out 1 million plus of them and forced them to go the one place they hated the most, Israel. And now those same people that forced them out of their homes are telling them they don't belong there. So if the Jews of Israel are surrounded by Islamic military...
So this also is a really funny point that he made in his content puke, where he brings up Hezbollah and Hamas. Jews are surrounded by their enemies. What the Hezbollah or Hamas in 1948? Both Hamas and Hezbollah were developed as not even Hezbollah, but Hamas initially was a literal Islamic charity that turned into a resistance group against Israel. Hezbollah developed as a resistance group against Israeli occupation. Okay? Many, many decades after Israel was even created as a violent settler colonial enterprise. Absolutely ridiculous statement. Incredibly ahistorical. And not only that, but I'll take it one step further. Okay? In terms of Hamas, Israel itself tilted the scales in Hamas's favor numerous times. Why did Israel do that? Because they correctly predicted that, well, not completely correctly, but they predicted that they would be easier to dominate. They would be easier to destroy because they would be able to get very little Western support as opposed to the secular, Christian, and socialist resistance groups that were under the PLO. Israel tilted the scales in Hamas's favor time and time again because they were worried that the Western world was too sympathetic to the plight of Palestinians when the Palestinians that were speaking about their own victimhood, their real victimhood in the hands of Israel, happened to be socialist, secular socialist, leftist Palestinians. Israel assassinated all of those leaders, okay, including Ghassan Kanafani, who very famously never even held a gun.
We already talked about that.
Him and his family members, immediate family members. Now, why would Hezbollah form in Lebanon? Maybe because Israel expelled Palestinians into Lebanon, members of the PLO into Lebanon, and then Israel decided to invade Lebanon. And the Lebanese population was like, okay, well, we have to fight back. What the is this shit? And that's how Hezbollah came into the equation. None of this was there when Israel was invented. And Israel's inception is a violent one. It's just cry, bully, perceived victimhood nonsense. This is pure pro-Israeli propaganda. It's historical revisionism, and it's ridiculous. If you have done any reading whatsoever on the inception of the Israeli state or the inception of the resistance against the Israeli violence in...
The reason why they have to do this propaganda, and this is a very important point, is that Israel cannot exist on its own. It's very important to understand that colonial projects cannot exist without a connection to a source of their power, which is the colonizing polity. or Israel. The colonizing polity has shifted. At the beginning of the project, it was a British-led project, and then it was transitioned to an American-led project. You could really say it's the last British colonial project is Israel, and it was handed like a baton to the U.S. for use during the Cold War and now. But Israel, should there be a withdrawal of the support of the colonizing polity, Israel would wither instantly. Israel would wither into Palestine within a generation, probably faster, unless it could find another colonizing polity to take up the baton. That is the reality. That's why they have to spend so much time pretending to be victims, pretending to be our ally, pretending this, pretending that, because they understand better than anyone that Israel cannot survive without U.S. support.
Numerous countries around Israel, you would know that this is a ridiculous thing to point to.
Terrorist groups.
Ethan racistly suggests that all Arabs and Muslims should be regarded as the same people. Hamas and Hezbollah never forced Jews out of their homes and did not even exist at the time of the Nakba. These resistance groups formed under Israeli occupation as Israeli forces brutalized, massacred, and dominated their people.
By the way, oh yeah, keep sucking Hamas. I know. Keep refusing to learn about history, man. Keep refusing to learn about history. The funniest part about this is that I have probably poured countless hours of not only research, but commentary by directly talking to academics as well. All of that is readily available on my YouTube. You can watch any number of different videos, okay? But instead, you just plug your ears and go, la, 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 I can't hear you. Okay, it's fine. It's hilarious hearing that when you know anything about medieval history and know how even Al-Andalus in the 700s was noted for giving Jews protections to the point of where most Jews migrated there from Christian kingdoms, which led to a golden age law. Being a historian sucks, man. Yeah. Where does he get his info from? I don't know.
Like,
I have no idea what his
studying history. Do you think Ethan Klein gives a fuck about history? Do you think Ethan Klein gives a fuck about accuracy or knowledge or anything in general? He doesn't fucking care. All right, chat. I am so bored of this topic. I gotta be honest. Like, the Ethan Klein, I feel like it's jumped the shark. I feel like Ethan Klein shit has jumped the shark. It's really boring at this point. Like, it's not even like good drama slop content. I'd rather be talking about more political shit. We're gonna be reducing our drama slop quotient because it's just boring at this point. Subject to change if I feel like I could get a bunch of views out of it. But like overall, like I feel like we're milking this dry at this point. It feels boring to me. You know what I mean? It just feels boring as fuck to me. All right, everybody. That's going to be it for me today. I'm going to send you up, guys, gals, non-binary pals. We're going to get more hardcore into politics tomorrow. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Oh, wait, hold. This is a little too early. Let's get a little bit of the song going. All right, everybody. See you tomorrow. Stay safe. Hit the follow button. Thank you for all the support. You guys are the best. See you tomorrow.
Listening to Mike from PA unites the world in song. So comrades, come and rally, for this is the time and place. Join the Central Committee and unite the human race. Luigi free. Demand that healthcare be provided, as well as housing and food security. We'll build high-speed rails and revolutions with heads of billionaires and solidarity. Through the struggle we'll carry on. Our gifts up to Central Committee is one step closer to righting the wrong. So comrades, come and rally, and remember that Hush owes Mike $1,500 because Mike was fucking right.